Alright, CIS-125, 10, 17, 16. This is the 14th day of Introduction to Programming Logic. Monday. So today, first thing we did, they worked in their groups. Then we went over the quiz. I'm going to highlight that a little bit. Then I had a flowchart for them to work through. And then the students, I pretty much took up most of the day. Had a little time at the end to review and ask some questions. We talked about the assignments. 1 through 6. 1 they should have done. 2 was a group one. 3 and 4 working on. 5 and 6. We don't have those completely done by the end of this week, but you should have this. So remember, for those assignments, 3 areas. You've got the documentation, all those things you list and do with the IPO all the way down to your code and where it is and so forth. And then you have the actual code. Now the code that's running, that's like 2 points. Then you have documentation for the code, that's a point. And then this documentation is 2 points. Anything missing, I'm not going to be messing around trying to find certain things, so it should all be clear. Alright? So let's move on to the, we went through all the other material on the quiz. And you can look at your quiz, I think, I went through what the answers were and so forth. And then we talked about this problem. You got a project, and then you got some level requirement, okay? And so we have these 2 levels. Level 1 is 8% charge, and level 2 is 11% charge. So we created our legend here with our variables. And so we have to make some decision. If it's a level 1, we're going to multiply by, in this case, 8%. If it's a level 2, 11%. And then what we're looking for an answer is how much to charge based on the project cost. So, input these 2, and we should be able to end up with the charge. So here's how we went over it today in class. So we have over here. So we have the start, initialize these 2. Then we did the inputs in one box, input the level. So this is the input to level. This would be either a 1 or a 2 to represent the 2 levels. And then the project cost, how much the project cost. Then we looked, here conditional, we said if the levels equal to level 1, so I just picked one. I said if it matches this one, well then we use the level 1%. And if not, then it must be the level 2%. And so we calculated the charge. Right, calculate store, calculate on the right, store on the left. Has to come back together, conditional, and then we print it out. The charge is, print the charge, and then we stop. Pseudocode, this should all be a straight line. We've got our start, and down here our stop. So these 2 would be initialization, input the values in, and we say if, here's the conditional, and then we have then. So this right here, this would be the true part, and this would be the false part. We have an else right here, and an if, and if. You notice these are indented. Now if you're using actual, if you want to look more like Python, you could put a colon here and a colon there and leave this end if off. And we print it, and we stopped. Alright, the next thing we did, this was good practice. The students worked on doing a walkthrough with this. You know, and it can really vary how students manage a walkthrough, but I'll show you how we did it on the board here in a minute, but let's just take a look. So we have the legend, we have all the variables defined here, then we have the input we're going to have, and then I had to explain a couple things, but read would be similar to an input statement, but we're inputting, so we're reading and $sign. So first of all, we initialize b equals 3, t equals 10, tp. Let's see if you can see that. tp equals 0, and c equals 0. And you're going to notice those later on in the flowchart. So we have all those set, and you can record those all depending on how you're doing it. So you come through, so all they're set, then we read, so we read in the first name, and then we're going to check that name, as long as that name is not equal to done, and you notice that's how it's going to stop down here with done. As long as it's not equal to done, true, then we're going to read in the other two values, then we're going to compare, is I greater than t, if true, we're going to add on that bonus before we multiply it. If it's false, we're just going to multiply it. How many items based on their pay. Bring it to here. Now this is interesting. So the first one, Sue, was 10 and 20. And so then we added 3 on. The pay is 10. And then, so here we took pay rate per item. Right here, plus B, the bonus up here. So that'd be 13, 13 times 20. What do we get? 260 or whatever that comes out to be. Alright, we're going to look at that here in a minute. So then we do this calculation. Then when it gets here, total pay was 0. And then we're going to take pay, add it to total pay, and store it in total pay. So total pay is going to grow as we go along. I'll show you that in a minute. This here, C was 0, add 1 to C, store it in C, so this is actually going to count every time you go by it. And this is going to do a sum of the total pay every time you go by it. Okay, then we print out that individual, read in another name, and then we're going to check. If that name is not done, which the next one would be Bill, we go through the same process. And then we go around and come around again. Sally, go through the process. Bill and Sally both go this way. And then we keep summing it up, and we keep counting. And then we come up here, and then we read the word done. Done is done, not equal to done. No, they are equal. So then that's false. Print out the results, and then we stop. So over here, I assign B 0, 0, Sue. Yes, that's true. R is 10, is 20, is I greater than T, true. Did the calculation, got 260, printed it out, read in the next name, but before we read in the name, we counted and we stored the sum. Here we're taking a sum, and here we're a count. Okay, Bill, yes, 5 and 10, this was no, 50. Add those on, add another one for the count, add on 50 to 260, now it's 310, the count is 2, print it out, read the next name, Sally, yes, 8, 5, no, that one's 40, add the 40 on, get 350, count, that becomes 3, print it out, read it done, is that yes? No, it's no, so then it went and it printed out these values here. So now we have a count and a sum. If we want to, could we get the average? Sure, we could divide those and get the average. Alright, so you should be able to, we talked about the midterm on Wednesday, and I'm going to take off the problem. So at the first part of class we'll have a quiz on iteration, and then we'll have the midterm, the second half of the class. We'll take the quiz on iteration and then we'll check it right in class. And then we'll have the midterm, but the midterm won't have the problem on it. It'll be based on the structures and the information we covered on any of the quizzes. Okay, so that'd be a good place to review, would be the quizzes that we took. That's it.